So there's a psychology lab in the States. And in this lab, they have converted it into a theatre. And what they do is they invite people to come along to this theatre. There's random people in this theatre, and they hand them a free complimentary packet of M&Ms. And every M&M has inside it 200 M&Ms. Exactly 200 M&Ms in every packet. Same chocolate, same movie, random people. But the twist is one group gets a packet of M&Ms, but inside it is 10 individual packets of 20 M&Ms. The other group gets their larger packet of M&Ms, the same packet of M&Ms, same size, but it's just got 200 M&Ms in there. And so the same packet, same packaging, they sit down, they watch the same movie, and they, at the end of the research, so end of the movie, the researchers collect what's left over and they gather it up. And this is the trick, right? This is amazing. On average, the people who had the packet of M&Ms with the 200 individual M&Ms in them, they would have, on average, about 168 M&Ms they would consume. The other people would consume, with the packets of 10 packs of 20, they would consume 40 M&Ms. So that's a reduction, a huge reduction of 75% of the amount of food. These guys here are eating 4 times as much food as them, or not even eating, they are consuming it. 75% difference from this tiny little emotional subconscious circuit breaker. Every time they happen to open a little packet of 20 M&Ms, that microsecond of awareness, that little pause, has stopped them shoveling in the food subconsciously, consuming the food. This has nothing to do with what the industry would say is willpower. Has nothing to do with shame. There's not denial of food. There's no diet here. There's that one moment of awareness, that subconscious awareness. And this group here had 4 times less food than this group with that little bit of awareness. That's got nothing to do with willpower at all. They experienced the same movie. They were given a complimentary packet of M&Ms. They didn't know. The person next to them could have had a different packet from them. They had no idea. And this is exactly the thing we take you through when we do the men's movement here, when we do the front door challenge, because I want you to get your results, because I want you to go from that sinking feeling of being stuck and sinking and not knowing what to do and being trapped in this cycle, because you don't know what you don't know. The industry is good at this. They think it's all about willpower. It's not about that. It's not a lack of discipline. And sadly, most trainers don't know this either. So they'll throw things at you saying, come on, you've got to cut back on this, and they'll give you a meal plan, and it's because you must be doing something wrong. It's got nothing to do with you doing anything wrong. It's unconscious consumption. When you consume food, it's when you walk to the fridge and you just walk to the fridge and start consuming food without even realizing it. When you're at work and you've got the computer there and you're just consuming food whilst you're doing work. When you're a kid, you were probably doing this as a kid when you were studying. So human beings consume food. You're not eating food when you're consuming food. And afterwards, after you've done it, this is what keeps you in the cycle. You feel guilty and you feel stuck and you've got this sinking feeling. It's awful. It's a cycle. And you have this sometimes for the rest of your life. So I'm going to break this cycle because I want you to become kings. And this is our program. It's called the King Program for a reason. And it's not until you've done the sinking feeling and acknowledge that we can move forward. So let me talk to you about Michael. I want to share a story about Michael. Michael was one of my clients, and he was doing the same thing. He was consuming, as it would happen, M&Ms. I'm pointing down here, he had in his desk drawer, he had a packet of M&Ms, and he would eat a whole packet of M&Ms a day, sometimes by lunchtime, sometimes by morning tea. He'd consumed a whole packet of M&Ms. So I had to get into Michael. Michael wasn't feeling lazy. Michael wasn't weak. He wasn't had lack of willpower. He wanted to change, but he couldn't because he was stuck. He was stuck. So I had to apply what I call the next stage of our program is the thinking. Now stick with me because you'll become one of the thinkings in a moment, but you've got to do the thinking first. And it's a 3-step method. So we've got to discover it first. I said to Michael, what's happening? Take me through the M&Ms. He goes, I eat them. I said, okay, you eat them at the desk, but have you always eaten at desk? He goes, no, of course not. I haven't always worked. I said, so when did it happen? And we got through and we're asking why? And we're sort of saying, why is it? Why is it? Because when you find out why, lean in here. When you find out why you're eating the food, it changes everything. So for Michael, it was him being a kid again when he was 8 years old and had a memory of eating the M&Ms because his dad would bring the M&Ms home and kept asking the questions, why M&Ms, Michael? Why not Smarties? Why not Crunchies? Why not, what chocolate? There's lots of chocolate there. Why M&Ms? You'll have your thing. I said, Michael, why is it? And stick with me because it's really powerful. This is in a moment you're going to just be blown away because you're going to become the thing king. You're going to be one of the thing kings in a second, all right? Once you've done the thinking. So with Michael, it was 8 years of age. His dad comes home and his dad will bring the M&Ms home, and he said he'll separate them with his brother and he'd eat the brown ones last. And then he went, I still eat the brown ones last. I still eat the brown ones last. Can you imagine that? Michael, a grown man working from his computer, pulls out an M&M. It's brown, puts it back in, subconsciously puts it back in the packet to grab another one and keeps eating. Keeps eating. He had a microsecond to stop, but he didn't. He kept consuming it. So step 2 is acknowledging this. So acknowledge this because we're not blaming his dad. We're just acknowledging it. We're leaning in. We're honoring that memory. There's nothing wrong with feeling like that. There's nothing wrong with the food you're eating. As you'll find out later, food has no moral judgment. It is not good or bad. So with Michael, we had to acknowledge that. We've discovered it first, then we acknowledge it. Not his dad's fault. Not his fault. No one else's fault. Could you imagine what would happen if he said to a trainer, I'm eating a packet of M&Ms? What would the trainer do? The other trainer? Oh, cut them out. Go to a dietitian. Cut out chocolate. It's not good for you. We know that, dudes. Don't you think we know that? That's why you're stuck in the thinking feeling. We know that. Yeah, so don't tell us what we already know. Tell us what we don't know. But you can't because those trainers don't get it. So we've got to get to the third stage. We've got to honour the memory, and then we've got to learn how to eat them. So we're going to eat them by turning off the computer, going out to your car, going out to a coffee shop, sitting somewhere quietly at work, and really enjoy the M&Ms. Really eat them. Eat your food. Don't consume it. With Michael, it was the M&Ms. He kept them in his drawer. He was consuming them. Now he sits down. He eats them. Now get this. Michael's gone from eating a whole packet of M&Ms to 2 M&Ms now. He eats 2 M&Ms a day. He's not denying himself. He's not white-knuckling himself through his cravings. He's learned the difference between consuming and eating. That's it. That's the secret. When you consume food, you put on weight. When you eat food, you lose weight. And this is the sort of thing we do here on the Men's Movement. It's about the food. It's not what's in the mouth. It's what's on the mind. If I can tell you 2 things, if there's one thing you can take away from me right now, one thing, this is it. It's not what's in the mouth. It's what's on the mind when you're eating the food. So don't let anyone tell you about food being good or bad, or it has moral values, things like that. It's not that. Because when you consume food, you put on weight. When you eat food, you lose weight. Remember that. If you can just remember one thing from what I say. If you consume food, you put on weight. When you eat food, you lose weight. I told this to a doctor who started with me recently this week. She's been training with me for about 3 weeks. I told her this very thing. She said she wants to lose weight. She's got patience. She's a doctor who's just about to come to her end of her career. And I told her that, and she said, that's really good. I'm going to start telling my patients that. So take that with you, one thing. So Michael now understands his why. And he's got this locked in forever. And this is a habit he's got forever. And we keep him in those habits locked in forever because we do a thing called the front door challenge, which you can see up there behind me. We want you to do the front door challenge because in the front door challenge, we do the next stage of the program, which is the walking stage, where you can see the theme here with the kings here, the sinking, the thinking, the walking, where he consolidates all the things we do. We talk about all these sort of things in the walking phase here in the men's movement. We get you to walk because it's no longer a battle between 2 doors, between the front door and the fridge door. It's not a battle. He chooses now the front door. He doesn't work knuckle this. And when he goes out the front door. He's got me in his ears in my program talking to him about this stuff. And we consolidate that. And you do that every day. And once you do that, you choose that front door. You consolidate everything and become, like I said before, I want you all to become, this is really powerful. We want you to become the thin kings. We've got to get you to become the thin kings, because you become the thin kings. You're no longer having to burn off calories. You're no longer on paleo. You're no longer on keto. There's a stupid new one at the moment. What is it? I think it's called, someone told me last night, they're going on a parasite cleanse diet. Really? When are we going to? Really, guys? When are you going to realize it's an unhealthy health industry? It's full of crap with people telling you crap. You don't have to burn off calories. You don't have to convince yourself you've got to get to the gym. You've got to do this. You don't have to do anything. Once you discover and go through the thinking, become the thin king, and you do the walking, your body's lighter. Your emotional fitness is stronger. Your mind is clearer. The habits are locked in, and the results, you'll lose about 8 to 10K, maybe 15K, maybe even 20Ks. You'll lose the weight, all without a gym, all without suffering, all without the industry BS, all of it. Okay. And once you've done that, this is when you can do this. If you want to do this, you can do this. Because sometimes when I say this word, people get a bit, I can almost feel you about to sort of almost balk at the word. You sort of walk away from the word. We get you to do the balking phase. And we're not talking about going to the gym and, getting the bicep muscles and taking selfies of yourself and going down to the beach. If you want to go down to the beach, take your top off, you can. But at our age, we don't care about that. We don't care about that. This is about building your capacity. This is about you becoming a protector, building strength, serving a purpose. Energy to play with your kids, energy to play with your grandkids if you've got grandkids. Strength to help a mate pick up that couch on the weekend and help him do that. This is not about, being a 20-year-old kid. In fact, being a 20-year-old weakling at the gym. They got muscles, but no purpose. You've got a purpose. You've got a reason to get stronger. You're 15, 20 Ks lighter now. So if you do go back to the gym and do the bulking at the gym, you can. You can go back to the gym, but this time, excuse me, this time you're stronger, because get one of those 20-year-old kids to put 20 Ks of weight on his back and walk around for 2 weeks and see how he feels at the end of the 2 weeks. He'll be huffing and puffing. That's what you've been doing the last 10, 15, 20 years. You won't be doing that anymore. Michael doesn't have to do that anymore. So when you go to the gym, you're stronger, you're healthier, so you can lift the weights without injuring yourself. And if you do get a trainer at the gym, he'll try to punish you. First thing to do is try to punish you, because that's their ego. They want to show how great they are. And you potentially could get injured. We don't want you doing that. So if you continue doing the walking phase that I've got, you can move faster, you can move stronger, and you can just continue with me. It's so much better. You don't have to struggle anymore. You don't have to sit next to a guy at the gym who's grunting. You don't have to put up with other crap and the music. Really? The music there, guys. And you can build your strength with this program. You can build real resistance and get real results. No membership fees, no blokes grunting next to you, all the sweat, none of that stuff. But if you want to go to the gym, by all means, it's optional. The bulking phase is optional to go into the gym. But if you want to do it with us, you can just walk further. You might even start running. You don't have to run, but you might even start running. You might shock yourself. You move more, you get stronger. You do it your way on your terms, and that's the best part. This is the best part about it. But this is the next stage of the program's even more exciting, right? It is more exciting. So stick with me, because you're about to learn something which Michael's learned and other guys like him learned. When you start feeling sort of strong and start feeling tall, if you like, I'm going to use my words, tall, you're going to do something which is incredible. You're going to do what I call the talking phase. Because when you go to talking phase, this is awesome. This is where it gets really powerful. You become the tall king. And it will happen. It happened to Michael. He's at work one day and people are starting to notice stuff. So some guy comes up to him and says, God, Michael, some of the guys have noticed, man, what have you done? He's lost about 15, 20 Ks. So Michael, what does he do? Does he talk about diets? Does he talk about calories? Does he talk about going on keto? Does he talk about the gym program he's gone to? No. He talks about becoming a king. He talks about becoming a king, right? And he tells the guy, and he shares with the guy his story. His story, not anyone else's story. He shares Michael's story about the M&Ms and what they meant to him and about a memory. And as he's saying to his story, the guy says, Michael, I do the same things with Tim Tams. I've got Tim Tams in my drawer at work. And that guy goes off and tells his mate. And that's when we create the ripple effect. When we can change one person and change the shape of one man, we can change the shape of the whole community. And that's what we're doing here in the men's movement. There it is. There it is over there, the men's movement. We want you to change the shape of your whole community one man at a time. Because we can do this, it creates a ripple effect. And you get tall kings everywhere. We get tall kings. And the best thing about this program is if you want to do this here, because this is exactly what Michael did. He did the Front Door Challenge live cohort. If you want to do it live with us, you can. And if you don't, no dramas. If you got no denial, no painful stuff, no gimmicks, no guilt, just a method for real results. The King program gets you real results. So I want you to join our program. I want you to get this. So if you want to, join the cohort below, do the live cohort. But if you want to do the self-paced program, which Michael's mate ended up doing, did it by himself in a self-paced program, you can do that too. So you'll never, ever have to worry about getting on the scales again, ever. I don't want you to ever feel guilty about getting on the scales again. I don't want you to feel shame about having pull-on shoes. I don't want you to feel guilty about not getting in the photos with the family. You're going to stand tall. You're going to be one of the tall kings. And this is great. You're going to be a tall king because you've become a thin king because you've gone through the sinking phase and we're going to get you there. We don't want you stuck there. You go to the gym and go to a trainer, you'll be stuck in their program. It's called an unhealthy health industry for a reason. We've got to get you out of consuming food to eating food. Once you eat your food, you lose weight. And that's the sort of stuff we do here on the program. So you want to do it self-paced, do it self-paced. Both links are in the down below. I'd point down there. Both links are in the down below. So you're going to never have to worry about getting on the scales again, ever, ever. That Monday morning feeling where you feel guilty because you didn't start again, gone. Okay, so if you want to watch the video for more examples where I take you through more stuff, every week there'll be more videos to take you through stuff. And when you're ready, join the live cohort or do the self-paced program. You'll be blown away and you'll get your body back. Awesome, guys. We'll see less of you next time. Cheers.
You've been listening to the Men's Movement. Look forward to seeing less of you next time.